Even though I'm really a pantser when it comes to writing, in other words, I tend to fly by the seat of my pants. I have a little bit of a vision for what the story is going to look like. I sometimes have an idea of how it's going to end. And in some cases, I even have a feeling of how I'm going to get from the beginning to the middle to the end. But one thing I want to caution anybody who's a pantser about, and you probably already know this, but if you are a pantser, you've probably had times where you've started a story and you're getting close to the middle and then you get stuck. You get stuck in the mud and you find that it's difficult for you to get yourself out of it. And part of that is because you didn't do an outline. You may have run into a stumbling block in terms of where you're going to go from here. Now, if you really haven't thought very much about how the story is going to end, then part of how you're going to get stuck is that you've got to the beginning, you know how that's going to go, and you might have been at one point in a good flow, but then you get to the middle, and because you're not really sure how it's going to end, you're having trouble getting from point A to point C. So you're at point A where you started, but you got to get through point B to get to point C. But because you don't know what point C looks like, or you're not quite sure what point C looks like, you're struggling to really get started with point B or to fully work your way through point B. So it's really important sometimes that even if you are a person who writes from the seat of your pants, you're a pantser, that you really think through, at least in basic terms, what the beginning, the middle, and the end looks like. That way, you give yourself less of an opportunity to get stuck if you had a great idea, you were flying by the seat of your pants, but then you find that the sledding is a little bit tougher in the middle and you can't quite see how you're going to get your way through to the end. So even if you don't go with a full out, detailed outline of what you're going to do, at least pencil down a pretty good idea of how you're going to start it, how you're going to get to the end, and then what the ending is going to look like. Even if you have those three elements in the most basic terms, that's going to give you a better chance of not having another story fall into the story graveyard.